Hello everyone, and welcome to another Backtracking review. Before I actually get started with the scripted video, I do have, I do want to thank people who watched my PBW stream last night and the night before as well. There originally wasn't going to be one last night, but because I was expecting a CWL stream, but because of more delays, that didn't really happen, so I thought, cheeky double stream, why not? And also it was a way of me making up for not being able to post a video yesterday because I was busy helping my parents do some gardening, so... Now you know why that happened, that's why this video is coming out today, and yeah, I would have loved to put this video out yesterday because there wasn't a UFC at all to review, not even a Fight of the Night, because there was no card this weekend, so there you go. But yeah, now I'll go back to the scripted video. I just want to give you a quick little update on what happened there, and now you know, we're going to get to the video now. Thanks for putting up with this. I've done a lot of bands that have broken up. I've done bands on long hiatuses. In both cases, I've done bands that have come back from both situations, and rarely have I ever been super blind. I don't really have that luxury when talking about today's band, though. The Showdown first formed in Elizabethton, Tennessee in 1999, but under a different name. In 5 years, they changed their name to something better, which is what they have now, and over their initial 12 years as a band, they've been delivering some darker and heavier styles of metal, and with the possibility of them returning, I figure that it's time to challenge them at the crack of dawn, take 10 paces, pull out our pistols, and take shots and see which ones land and which ones miss. Weird analogy, but it fits, I think. You know, let's just face the music. We start with the band's debut album, A Chorus of Obliteration, released in 2004 through Mono vs. Stereo Records and produced by Bruce Fitzhugh. We have a fair bit of background to talk about, so let's do that. As I mentioned, the band didn't fully form until 1999, but the idea of it technically did start with drummer Daniel Swain in 1997. In 1999, vocalist David Bunt and guitarist Travis Bailey would join, with second guitarist Josh Chalters and bassist Eric Karushek, I hope I'm saying that correctly, joining later in 2002 to round out the lineup. Soon after they took the band name of 2540 and had a punk sound at first. Not too long after that, Josh convinced them to try metal since he himself was a big metalhead. With the change in style also came a change of name to the Showdown. And there you go. In 2003, Daniel left the band to get married and focus on that, and he was replaced by Andrew Hall. Not long after, in 2004, the band hit up the studio, meeting up with Living Sacrifice's lead vocalist Bruce Fitzhugh to produce the album. I have to admit, a lot of this album does still sort of feel punk rock-ish. Make no mistake, it is a metal album, but there are quite a few punk rock elements thrown in, like bass structuring, gang vocals, and even the vocalist himself sounding more punk than metal for this one. In case you couldn't tell, there wasn't a lot of background that I could find before talking about this album, with there not even being any EPs recorded before this, so... yeah, the band just got a proper lineup, a new name, and decided to hell with it, let's make ourselves an album with the lead singer of another popular Christian metal band on hand to help. I do like this album's mix of styles, with the sort of punk feelings, everything mixing well with groove metal, thrash metal, and some more traditional metalcore-ish flavours. Despite that, it doesn't really sound like a metalcore album that came out in 2004. Sure, it has those elements of other bands that were booming at the time, but the Showdown did try really hard to sound like their own beast, and I dare say they outlasted the structure. It is heavy, yes, and it also has some breakneck pacing, but it's never afraid to slow down when it has to. The lyrics cover mostly acts of heroism, battling, and anger, with a slight influence from biblical writings too. And the band are all pretty solid as well. David's vocals are brittle and hold good range, Josh and Travis had some really good riffs and solos, Eric's bass is nice, thick and toned, and Andrew's strumming is heavy with some really great punch to it. Standout songs include Hell Can't Stop Us Now, From the Mouth of Goth Comes Terror, Dagon Undone, in brackets The Reckoning, that's three, yeah, Iscariot, and my favourite, In Later Rest. A Chorus of Obliteration contains more than just one of those choruses, that's the joke, and the pacing, performances, and really good genre mixing make this quite an interesting listen, so yeah, I can recommend this one. We then move on to the second album, Temptation Come My Way. Released in 2007, it would be their last one through Mono vs. Stereo. It was produced by Paul Ebersold and it's the band's longest album with 47 minutes and 55 seconds. Now, background. The band went on quite a bit of a tour after their last album, which explains a large 3-year gap. But yeah, they hit up the US and Europe, and to promote the album, the band toured with Pillar on their Day of Reckoning tour in late 2006, alongside fellow bands Day of Fire and Decipher Down. After the album was complete, Andrew left the band to chase after a professional wrestling career, and he was replaced by Still Remains drummer AJ Barrett. Even though the album was finished, and even though the band had toured like hell to promote it, they still went back to the studio to record a new song titled Head Down with AJ behind the kit. However, that wouldn't really be the only change in the tracklist. See, up until the album was released, not a lot of people knew that there were two versions available, one with the intro track from Fanatics and Horse, and one without that song. Considering that the Showdown did talk about things like raping on the darker parts of the Bible on their debut, it's no surprise that having an album with a song titled Fanatics and Horse at the very start of a Christian metal album did get more than a few backs up in the Christian music community. Its word is still, since most distributors of the album had the song in the list. Up yours, lying distribution markets. Anyway, that isn't the only change to have happened to the album, or to the band themselves. They just the thrashier styles of their debut from a more southern-leaning sound here, which I'm surprised that they didn't do earlier since they're from Tennessee. You don't get a lot more southern in America than that, except for maybe Georgia. Still, the album did do well with the underground especially, and the band even played Ozfest in 2007, so kudos to them. And I suspect that that's due to the new sound. It's more accessible, and while not as heavy or experimental, the structure and composition just benefit from being more measured and balanced out than their debut. And the lyrics cover pain, addiction, and fake believers, all with a delightful twang to the message that I really like how it sounds. And the band all kill it, obviously. David's vocals focus more on singing, and he carries a nice range. Josh and Travis kill it with some really good solos and really nice riffs. Eric's bass is always nice and thick and good, and AT fits in quite well here, hitting hard and going fast on the drums. Standout songs include the title track, It Drinks From Me, Phonetics and Horse, Spitting in the Wind, and my favourite in the closing song, Death Finds Us Breathing. Temptation Come My Way changes things up a lot, and pretty much all of it is for the better, with top production quality and really great performances and lyrics to boot. I can recommend this one. We then move on to their third album, Backbreaker. Released in 2008, it denotes the shortest time between releases with about a year. It was released for Solid State, the first album that the band released for that, and it was produced by Jeremiah Scott. Now, background. Now, those with sharp ears who just heard the name of the producer, excuse me, might recall that name popped up when I covered Demon Hunter a couple of years ago, and I'll go into that a bit more for the next album, but I feel like it's worth mentioning now. You gotta plant that little seed. Well, damn the fact that this album's cover art was designed by Ryan Clark, Demon Hunter's lead vocalist, with bodybuilder Mark Dugdale as the model on the cover, so there you go. Weirdly, all of the album songs' titles are based on Greek myths too, such as Cerberus, the 10-Year Titan War, and the names of most of the Greek gods themselves being used as references, almost making it sort of concept-based. That in itself is not something that a Christian-leaning band would usually do, but the Showdown likes to challenge the traditional teams, especially if the previous two albums were anything to go by. There's even a new sound here as it combines the heaviness of a chorus of obliteration, but with the more melodic stuff on Temptation Come My Way. The end result is actually a lot heavier and much better put together in my opinion. And I can't really be mad at a formula that works, as the band did get to tour a lot for the album, much like they did for the last one. They shared the stage with likes of Shadows Fall, Haste the Day, and My Children, My Bride, also supporting Norma Jean on their The Anti-Mother tour. For a different tour, Children 18-3 could only tour on select dates, with O Sleeper touring on the rest of them. There. Not shabby names to share the stage with, though, especially if you're into that style of music, and the style that the Showdown show here is definitely one that I'm into. I feel like this album might have given me my first song by the band, but I can't remember which one it is to save my life, but let's just focus on the album, because, yeah. It goes pretty hard, and much like on their debut, it doesn't really pull any punches even during the slower moments. It's an album that beats you down with a structure and damn near perfect pacing, with amazing production adding to the structure. And the lyrics covering war, heroic acts, and prophecies add heavier subject matter to a heavier style. And the band are pretty great here too, obviously. David's vocals are on point with having screams and dark guttural singing. Josh and Travis for a way of punching riffs and solos. Eric's bass is thick and has a good breakdown here and there, and AJ's drumming is fast, mean, and paced out greatly. Standout songs include The Hellhound Awaits, the pseudo title track, The Hammer of the Gods, You Will Move, and my favourite in the closing song, One Foot in Hell. Backbreaker is solidly paced, composed, written, performed, and produced, and I can't really find many faults with it, so yeah, I can definitely recommend this one. Totally, it's really good. And finally, we reach their fourth and so far final album, Blood in the Gears. Released in 2010 through Solid State, it was again produced by Jeremiah Scott and is the band's shortest album at 39 minutes and 51 seconds. This is also the band's only album to have guest stars, as singer Riley Anglin of Riley Anglin and the Big Guns appears on the songs with The Man from Hell and Seek My Own Grave, and Chris Basil of Destroy, Destroy, Destroy appears on the song Graveyard of Empires. Now, background. So I did mention that there'd be more talk about Demon Hunter, and here it is, since it's more worth bringing up here. Eric, AJ, and Travis all left after the release of Backbreaker, so they needed new people. To this end, Patrick Judge and Timothy Yogi Watts, lead guitarist and drummer respectively for Demon Hunter, joined the Showdown. By that point, Yogi was already a 5-year member of Demon Hunter, and Patrick had just joined. But it wouldn't end there, as the producer of this album, Jeremiah Scott, would step up to replace Eric on bass. In fact, Jeremiah Scott was a member of the Showdown before joining Demon Hunter after the Showdown split up. One thing I find interesting that even though Yogi does drum in this album, in the video for the song The Man from Hell, Yogi doesn't drum with the band because Yogi is a large bald man with a ginger beard, and the drummer in that video was a lot smaller with dark hair and sadly a lack of beard, so I can only assume that was AJ. At the end of the day, though, I feel like that's sort of what hurt this album in a way. The lineup changes, not the lack of a big beard. Then again, I don't have the Showdown for having to follow up something like Backbreaker. This album is still heavy, and as more flavorings of Temptation come my way, but not the same level of consistency that that album had. It has a heavy tone of Backbreaker and the balanced melody, but it doesn't mix them up as well as Backbreaker did with its mixture of Temptation and Obliteration. I think at the end of the day, my main problem with this album is that I can't fully figure out what the problem is. I mean, overall, the production is solid, helping out a well-paced structure and a good tone. The lyrics talk about things like addiction, consumption, and belief, and the band aren't even half bad either. David's vocals are still good with nice weight to them. Patrick and Josh share good riffs and some awesome solos. Jeremiah's bass is nice, deep and tricky, and Yoga's drumming is never a bad thing, really heavy, fast, and just strong. Standout songs include the title track, The Man from Hell, No Escape, The Crooked Path, and my favourite, In Dogma Enthroned. This album is good, but it feels a little bit too stripped down to me. Still, it has good performances and production, and the new members are always a good thing, especially considering the band that they're already in now, so yeah. I can still recommend this one, even as flawed around the edges as it can be. So, let's round them off. My most favourite is obviously Backbreaker. The lyrics, adding the little concept to it, the pacing and heaviness and the performances are all great. Just really good stuff, and I quite like the cover art for it, so yeah. Least favourite is Blood in the Gears, but mostly because the band had to follow something as kick-ass as Backbreaker would wind up being. It's a bit lacking, but it's not terrible by any means. I just hope that it doesn't sound all great to you guys. Anyway, join me next time for another two-part episode as I cover Long Island, New York's own Taking Back Sunday. I'm looking forward to doing that one. I'm more than likely going to see it before that because they've got 8 albums. There's probably going to be a UFC event and maybe a PBW's Dream. And I'm hoping maybe this week I'll put out my first album cover. I'm not really sure. I'm still nervous. But yeah, I'll see you all for whatever's next. And as always, thank you for watching. You're awesome. Bye bye.